So I think you should change your goals.
I should change my goals?
Yeah, I think so. I think you should be everyone's second best favorite agent.
Second best favorite agent.
You know why I say that?
Because the first is always too busy?
No, I'll tell you why. Well, that could be. So back when I was doing top 40 DJ work, I had a programmer tell me once, and I found that this is true. We win by being everybody's second favorite radio station.
Okay.
Because they'll go here, but they'll always come to us as the second choice because we're everybody's second favorite radio station. You actually end up with more listeners. I went, wow. So if you ask a good top 40 programmer, who do you want to be the favorite radio station of, their answer is no one's. We want to be everybody's second favorite radio station. It's weird, but it worked.
Okay, so if I was everybody's second favorite best agent for real estate and insurance,
because you would have something for everyone.
I would, and I typically do, and I think that's the glory of what I try to be in the community is I try to really just show up and help where I can. Yesterday I was at a meeting with the Iron County, the fair, and I'm organizing some things over there, but I'm doing it as a human, not to get anything out of it. But the more people get to know me as a human, the more they know, like, and trust me and do business with me.
See, that's the way to do that. But it's like, because if you're like a country fan, you're going to say, "Oh, I hate top 40 radio." But if someone pops on a song that you don't like on your favorite country station, where are you going to go?
Second favorite radio.
You're going to go to that top 40 station.
Wow. Okay. Well, welcome to Wired Wednesday, the second best insurance non radio station. I'll have to work on that intro. Thank you for joining us for Wired Wednesday. In studio today, we have Paul Cousins, Iron County Commissioner, and I'm really excited because every time I have the commissioners on, we learn something new that is going on in the county that's really impactful in very big ways that people don't necessarily notice all the time. It's kind of the underworkings of the big picture that's happening. And with all of the snowpack and all of the rain that we've received this spring and early summer, we want to talk about water, Paul. So, Paul, what's going on with all of the water?
Well, first of all, the runoff has been pretty manageable. Am I right about that?
It's been just awesome. It really has. We started out, Webster Flat Snowtail site is very indicative of what we have that's going to come down the canyon for us. And when we started the season, it was about 32 inches of water at Webster Flat.
That's a pretty good amount.
That's a lot of water. That's on par with 2005, 83, some of those years. It was a great year. We were very blessed, and we prayed for a cool spring, and we got it. We were very grateful. We have, in fact, there's a great site that anybody can go to. It's cicwcd.org, and if you go to a flow map, you can actually, there's flow meters on all the irrigation companies, our recharge projects, what's coming out of the canyon, and what it does, it measures it in cubic feet per second, CFS. And so we have the Woodbury split that splits the water 40-60. So 40% goes to Quinchapa and 60% goes towards Rush Lake out north. And I was, in my mind, I was thinking, well, if we can stay below 1,600 CFS in any one peak runoff, that's where I'll start getting nervous if it goes, because I felt like we could easily handle 1,000 cubic feet going north and 600 going to Quinchapa. But we peaked at about 900. That was about as high as we got this year. And so it couldn't have gone better. It's really been good.
Well, and associated with that, what I find really entertaining, just because it's water and I, control the water on Wednesdays, right? It either snows or rains or projected snow or rain, right?
Not God.
No, gratefully not. That's a very big bill to fit.
Well, I've got a comment. I got to interrupt you real quick. So
please.
We have these floods. We had, the flood 2 years ago, we had 8 inches of rain up Erie Creek in 30 minutes. 8 inches. And then we had about 6 at Cedar Breaks. And when God decides to dump water, it's got to go downhill. And I was joking in commission meeting the day that we're going to pass a resolution that county commissioners are not deity. So anyway, sorry.
No, I agree. No, and it's really great because what we've learned over the last few years is that we can control nothing about water, literally. But because of that, we've set up steps along the way, like recharge stations, like being able to direct water better, being able to utilize water better, those different things. Across the board, we've gotten better about it. So when all of the snowpack hits and everybody's so nervous about, the runoff, and I'm not educated in these specifically through a college degree or anything, okay? Runoff is a lot different than rain and flash flooding.
Exactly.
Significantly different, right?
Yes.
Why don't you explain the difference to us?
Well, to me, snowpack is melted, snow melts from the bottom down, and rain is instant and spontaneous. And we can't control either of them, but we can project out, right? We live in a high desert. That means we either have water or we don't, in my opinion. Living here for the last, I'm older than 30. How about that? You go through those different things, but the commissioners and the county at large has really started to plan for mitigating years that we don't have rain and years that we do have rain, or years that we don't have snowpack and the years we do have snowpack. So with all the recharge things going on, people don't really see where this water goes past, I'm going to say, the division at Bicentennial Park, but that division right there queues it up to go to Quichapa or goes to Rush Lake on the north. But from there, it also gets divided and subdivided further off of different canals and different irrigation ways, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So the Woodbury Split, which you said was right there by the skate park, softball fields,
yes.
Right there. As I said, 40% goes to Quichapa. And we do have a recharge facility. That was actually the first one that was started many years ago when Kit Wareham was our city engineer, and back when Mayor Sherrill was here. Yeah. There was some borrowed pits they dug along the runways at the airport that were really conducive to percolating water. And this year, unfortunately, that was not working because there was some problems. There's an issue. One thing with our water that comes down, there's so much sediment in it, gravel or sand. I mean, you were talking about flash flooding. When we get a flash flood, you can take your little water bottle, dip it in the water, and let it set overnight, and it's at least half dirt.
Right.
That's a lot.
Oh, for
and,
sure.
And sometimes even upwards of maybe 60%. And so that's and thankfully this runoff season, I did a bottle. One night it actually looked quite dirty, so I did a bottle full of water and let it settle, and there was about probably a quarter of an inch in the bottom, which wasn't bad, compared to and so they're different. And when you compare, one of the challenges we have, even though the water came down slowly, we still had a few challenges. With the flash flood, it comes down and it's over. But with this runoff, as much as we had, it's constant. It's constant water all the time.
So it's a marathon more than a sprint.
Yes, and it saturates the banks. I mean, we had some challenges out by for people to know where the lights are, where the airplanes come into the runway. Those lights across Airport Road. That's, if you go directly north, that's one of our biggest recharge facilities is Western Rock Pit. But I mean, there was one night I was out there working. We had shored up some erosion that happened. We put some riprap up, but the bank right there started calving like a glacier, and there was we lost about 5 feet of that bank in about 2 hours. And it was spooky.
My.
And we only had about 8 feet left. And if that would have gone, it could have flooded 2 gravel pits with very expensive assets in those pits.
Right.
And so we called the 911, and I've just got to give a shout out to Western Rock. Staker Parsons is the parent company of them, but they've been wonderful. I called Anthony with Western Rock and said, hey, we've got a problem. We had the DeMills, their gravel pit. We had them, Dana DeMille there that night. I was there running a loader. We had about 5 loaders and a dozer, and we worked till midnight, and we got that bank shored up, and it was all good. But you never know with water. Water is one of the most powerful forces on earth, and it does what it wants. And so you never know what you're going to run into. So,
which is the second best thing.
Is the second best.
We're continuing with this trend, right? Well, and it's really important that people notice and realize that it's on purpose and done diligently in trying to mitigate these efforts, but nothing's ever perfect.
Right.
There's trial and error. There's figuring out. There's I can't say it on the air, but there's those pucker moments
Oh, man.
of what's going on.
Well, and I'll give you an example. I'll give you a great example of that. This year, there's, back in 2017, I approached Phil Schmidt about using a big gravel pit he had, and he was just awesome. He helped us. He cleaned that. There's a pit over by Airport Road. When you drive down, you'll see that great big hole in the ground right by Airport Road, right across from the airport. And he leases Cedar City owns that, and Phil was leasing gravel, and he was mining that. When I approached Phil, I said, Phil, would you clean this other one out so we put water in it? He said, well, I'm leasing gravel. I've got to keep leasing it, or my lease is going to run out. So I approached the mayor and city council and asked if we could extend his lease there so we could go mine this other one. And he did, and we passed that in city council back, 17, I think. And so that gave us a great pit to put water in. But this year, I thought, man, wouldn't it be nice to put water in that pit by the road?
Right.
And we also overflow into the county pit, which is getting bigger because we mine gravel out of that all the time.
Right.
And so I had a meeting with the mayor and our airport manager one morning, and they agreed to let us. And I called Western Rock, and this is another. I can't tell you how much we appreciate these companies that work with us. I called Western. They said, Paul, we're going to be crushing in there. We just can't let you put water in it. And I said, okay. I was disappointed, but I said, okay, no problem. They called me back 2 days later and said, look, we're gonna let you use it. We're gonna just go crush it in another pit. And that was just awesome. And so, and talk about failures, in our minds, we thought, well, we'll just get some culvert, from 20-foot lengths of culvert and pipe that water down the hill. Because you can't just let it run down the hill. Just in one day, it looks like the Grand Canyon. It erodes so bad. Well, we put this pipe down, and we thought we cemented the joints and everything. We thought everything was great. But overnight, there was one little leak in that culvert, and it just totally washed the bank away. And so we had to do an audible last minute, pull all the culvert out, a week's work.
Oh my.
We went to WL Plastics that makes the HDPE, the black pipe.
Yeah.
And they were wonderful to work with us. They sold us some 24-inch pipe, about 300 feet. We got a machine from up north to weld those pieces together. If you drive by there, you'll see that big black pipe coming off the edge. And it just worked like a dream this year. And so we put a lot of water. And just so I don't forget, we have put in, since May 30th, we have recharged about 5,400 acre feet of water. Wow. That's 1.7 billion gallons of water that we've saved, water that hasn't gone to Quinchapa and evaporated. So it's been really successful.
Which is going back to the aquifers. It's like everything's cyclical. Who knew that everything's in a cycle that needs to create energy?
I don't know.
Who knew we needed teamwork? We have to talk to each other, people. We have to communicate where we're having issues, where we need help, all of these different things. And the right people always step up.
We've had a great spring, as you mentioned, Paul, and we've had some rainfall come our way, but the typical monsoon season, it's still on the horizon here.
Right.
What are you seeing? Are you thinking that if we have a typical year, we're going to be okay?
I do. We've got some work to do. Obviously, with all this runoff, as I said, it brings sediment. I mean, the channel from the UDOT bridge, where the tanker base is at the airport, down to the airport lights. That channel, I was in there last week with a trackle just removing some of that gravel. It's probably deposited 2 feet of gravel. You guys have probably seen the city crews with their trucks over by the Woodbury Split.
Yeah, on the south side.
Yeah, digging gravel out of that. And they've hauled hundreds of, probably thousands of loads out of there of gravel. And it's beautiful gravel. We can use it. But it has to be dealt with. And it just brings a lot of material down off the mountain. And so it has to be, so it's a blessing and a curse because you have to deal with it. You have to clean them. You have to maintain them. And that's we have a full-time employee with Iron County Courage Mill, and he has a machine, and that's all he does is he spends all of his time working on flood mitigation in the county. And once in a while, back in 2021, we had big monsoons. Our auditor, Dan Jessen, and I both were on track goals for a month helping him because he couldn't keep up. So we're out working night and day, cleaning out channels. And so we've got a little bit of time, I feel, before the monsoon patterns hit, where we need to, we'll go on and just clean things up and make sure they're good.
Well, and I also, just to really reiterate this, is we're not letting the water, and I'm not saying it's not useful after Quinchapa, but Quinchapa, you can't pump it further north to make sure that it's irrigatable, like
Well-
using it for irrigation and things.
And actually, we can now.
Well, right, but like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it wasn't possible.
Correct.
But because of the prep work that we've done, so to speak, you know, for these trends that we're seeing with our weather, we've been able to grow as a county because of the mitigation efforts and or the recharge efforts that water has really been essential for our Iron County
Right.
and our high desert climate.
So with Quinchepah, I lose track of time. 2 or 3 years ago, we built a dam across Quinchepah about 7 feet high, and we would put the water district. We have great folks. Paul Monroe's our manager, and then Tracy Feltner and his crew. They just do a wonderful job. But they monitor those things, and they'll put the cleaner water in the north end of Quinchepah, and the dirtier water in the south end. And when you talk about dirty, it's called TDS, total dissolvable solids. And if you can keep the TDS levels below like 1,000 parts, I think it's parts per million, that you can put that on a crop. If it gets much more than that, it can burn the alfalfa.
Right.
And so they installed pipe and a pump out in the lake, and they're able to pump water up to the Jones family, which has been just wonderful to help us. Let us use their land, let us do whatever we want out there for free. It's been nice to pay back, and we let them water 2 big pivots and use that water that would have evaporated, and they idle their wells, and that's 100% recharge. You're not pulling water out of the ground. You're using water that would have been wasted, which is just wonderful.
And didn't we have was it on the radio show or maybe it was during a Federation meeting, we talked about how people can put recharge ponds right next to their pivots to recharge their individual wells, you know, with the different things. And was that at a Federation meeting that we attended, or did we talk about it on the radio? Do you remember this, Tim? Okay, then it was at a Federation meeting. And for those of you who don't know, we do a Federation meeting every second Thursday of the month at the Hilton Hotel. And there's different trainings and education opportunities through those as well for what's going on in Iron County. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that we circled back to that.
Well, and on that line, and I know of one ag producer, and I know there's others, but Brent Hunter, for instance, he'll take these high flows. I know he's cutting right now, so he called and said, hey, you guys can recharge a little more. We always want to make sure the ag producers have what they need, and we just want the excess. We just want the what's left over. And so I know that Brent's been really, cutting edge on. He builds ponds, and he'll run that water in ponds, and then pump the water out of the ponds to put them in his pivots rather than take it out of the ground. And that's been a great conservation thing for him.
Well, yeah, and there's a few producers around the valley like trying to utilize the high water versus the groundwater. I try to. I can't remember everything.
The same thing.
But, you know, and it really does take team effort and the entire community to get involved in this, because it's not, just making lemonade. It's how you get all of the other things going on to make better and better use of the water that we have in our scarce resource.
And when you talk about teamwork, I just got to give a plug to Cedar City. That night when we called the 911, we had one on Thursday night and Friday night, 2 different spots, and I called Jeff Hunter late. They've got a place where they do harvest gravel out of the creek just above the UDOT bridge, and they screen it, and they get some pretty good sized rocks. They have a pretty big pile there, and I called you, and that's what we needed, but you need big rocks to keep the water from eroding the banks. And so I called Jeff and said, hey, we're in a jam. He said, Paul, take what you need. You're good. And so we did. We used a lot of it, and I really appreciated just us, the county and the city.
The camaraderie.
Yeah, the camaraderie, and be able to work together, and that we just appreciate that relationship.
I love having you on the show, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us for Wired Wednesday and going through all of the different water mitigation efforts. Because through this and through the efforts of the county and the city working together, and Enoch City and all of the different municipalities involved, we've been able to recharge up to what you said, 1.7 billion?
1.7 billion gallons as of May 30th.
And if we had $1 for every gallon, right? But it goes to show what teamwork and being the second best insurance agent and real estate agent in Iron County.
Maybe we should become everybody's second favorite county.
Yeah, everybody's second favorite county.
Well, we're already getting enough people coming here, so.
Well, there is that as well. Thank you so much for joining us for Wired Wednesday. This has been McKinnon Hansen and Paul Cousins, Iron County Commissioner. If you'd like any insurance, please contact me, or real estate.
I'm going to say, what about real estate?
or real estate things, 435-592-2021. Thanks for joining us for Wired Wednesday.
Thank you, folks. It's always fun. I would like to see Paul.
Really
30-second answer. What are we looking at long term? What are we still making plans for?
You know, the West Desert's still in play. That's a long process. That's a really important process, part of our water plan. But we've got to act. We've got to do these small steps. Each year we've got to add more recharge and do the things we can do to make a difference. And it takes time.
10-second answer. How long does it take to eat an elephant?
I wouldn't eat one myself.
One bite at a time.
I knew it was one bite. What's the best time to plant a tree?
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Now you're getting into life insurance.
I can't believe how fast that goes.
That's quite fast.